When I got up this morning, when you got up this morning, the chances were that our minds were actually set on automatic pilot. The cards are stacked against us. We have 1.8 million years of evolution stacked against us because we're hardwired to behave, to perceive, to react on automatic pilot. If we were to be too mindful about everything that we do, we might not be adequately focused to see a tiger jumping out of the bushes, and we might not live to tell the tale. There are no tigers in the 21st century. God help us, there isn't even a Celtic tiger in the 21st century. And therefore we need something different, not to survive, but to actually thrive, to actually make a difference in our lives, to ourselves and to those around us. Otherwise we're actually taking up space. In order to switch off that automatic pilot, we have to take conscious steps. We must make conscious choices, and those choices must be taken, for starters, as early in the day as possible. It strikes me as very odd that many people with whom I talk tell me that they can't take or make 5 minutes during the early part of the day, I mean the really early part of the day. 5 minutes that would actually transform the other 23 hours and 55 minutes of their day, including their sleep, but most importantly their waking hours. Research, very up-to-the-minute research, shows that people who take those few minutes to deliberately focus their minds on the reality of the moment, what the Buddha called mindfulness, what Harvard Review is writing about all the time, mindfulness. You can't go anywhere now without reading or hearing about mindfulness. Taking that small choice first thing in the morning, that mindful choice, is a choice that we all need to take, and is one that requires us to sit down and get in touch with reality, to switch off the automatic pilot and switch on all our 5 senses for just a few minutes every day. What I was about to say, though, was that cutting-edge research actually proves that taking this choice actually, ultimately, restructures our brain, rewires our brain. Now, unfortunately, the phrase rewiring your brain sounds a little naff, a little cliched, but that is actually what I'm talking about. Psychology has known for many years that the ordinary adult almost never uses his or her prefrontal cortex, the piece of the brain up here that is known as the center for executive decisions, for executive functions, the piece of our brain that ensures that we only do what we need to do to the very best of our ability to get what we want, to achieve our goals and objectives. Now that unfortunately doesn't sound like the average, ordinary, everyday life. Why? Because researchers know that the prefrontal cortex is almost never activated after the age of about 12, or certainly beyond the age of adolescence, unless we're learning a completely new skill, for example like learning to drive a car. After we know how to drive the car, the prefrontal cortex is no longer engaged. Now, how can you get what you want out of life if the piece of your brain that you actually need to be fully functioning to achieve that is dormant? The answer is, of course, you can't, unless you take steps to wake that bit of your brain up. Now, I keep using the word brain. The psychological definition of mind is what the brain does. So when I'm talking about the brain, I'm actually talking about the piece of equipment that we use for our mind. To be mindful, or in our ordinary state of mind, mindless. Research has shown that those who take those few minutes to come to their senses, let's call a spade, those who meditate actually activate the prefrontal cortex. Not only that, recent research has shown that the prefrontal cortices of those who meditate are thicker than ordinary people's prefrontal cortices. What does that mean? Well, when you use any part of your brain that you haven't been using much before, the axons, the little tubes down which the messages go, can expand by up to 1000% in diameter. They can also be more fully insulated, which ensures traffic really flies down that superhighway in the mind. This research has gone back many years and proved that, for example, that a London cabbie's hippocampus, where they store the knowledge, is 50% larger than an ordinary person's hippocampus, and the longer you're a London cabbie, the bigger your hippocampus actually is. Here is real research that actually says my brain is structured according to the use to which I put it. Now, if you could make 5 minutes in the morning, some morning you will wake up and your brain will no longer be on automatic pilot. The extraordinary will have become your ordinary. There is actually a physical tipping point in the mind stroke brain that actually ensures that with just a little care and attention on our part, just a little conscious choice on our part, that would actually transform our lives will become transformed. The very structure of our brains will become transformed, and then you're in a totally different place altogether. So, do you think you could actually limit your mindlessness to 23 hours and 55 minutes each day?